You think you know Victor Wembanyama, the 7'4" generational talent who had NBA scouts losing their minds years before he played his first game. But while the world has been obsessing over his crazy highlights, Wemby has been quietly building something much bigger off the court. Hidden across Texas is a growing empire designed around a body, lifestyle, and future unlike any other athlete on Earth, with a custom-built mansion made for his extraordinary frame. But the real question is, just how far does Victor Wembanyama's Texas empire actually go? Let's get the full picture. Chapter 1. The alien arrives in Texas. Let's talk about what went down when Victor Wembanyama landed in San Antonio in the summer of 2023. Because the moment this 7'4" kid from Paris stepped off the plane, something shifted in the entire city. The Spurs had the first overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. The question wasn't whether they'd take Wembanyama. The only question anyone was asking was how long before this kid becomes the face of the entire league. When Wemby, that's what people call him, actually arrived, San Antonio went absolutely crazy. And I don't mean like, oh cool, a new player crazy. I mean people lining up outside the arena crazy. Merchandise flying off shelves crazy. A team that had been rebuilding and hadn't had a real superstar since Kawhi. Leonard suddenly had a reason to matter again. His rookie season numbers were legitimately absurd. We're talking 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and 3.6 blocks per game as a 19-year-old kid. He led the entire NBA in blocks, not just rookies, the entire league. Then he won Rookie of the Year, which wasn't even a question. But here's what people outside of hardcore NBA circles might not realize. Wembanyama wasn't just impacting the game. He was impacting culture. His tunnel fits alone were becoming news stories. His personality, quiet, thoughtful, a little mysterious, a little anime-coded, was connecting with a generation of fans who didn't grow up watching the Spurs dynasty. And with that star power came the money, the brand deals, the luxury lifestyle, and an empire that's still being built in real time. Fast forward to right now, and Wemby has fully embedded himself into San Antonio. He's got property there. He's got a training setup there. He's got a life there. Unlike a lot of NBA players who treat their drafted city like a hotel, just passing through, Victor Wembanyama made San Antonio his home. And he did it in style. When I started researching this video, I genuinely thought it was going to be another NBA player has a nice house type video. But the more I dug into it, the more I realized this is a story about a 21-year-old building something real, something thoughtful. It's not flex for flex's sake. Every single thing Wemby invested in tells you something about who he is and where he's going. So let's start with the crown jewel, because the mansion itself is just the beginning of what he's actually built in Texas. Chapter 2. The $4 million fortress built for a 7'4" giant. When Wembanyama first arrived in San Antonio, he was staying in temporary housing like most rookies do. But it became clear pretty quickly that finding a permanent home for Victor Wembanyama wasn't going to be like finding a house for a normal person or even a normal NBA player. Understand the challenge here. This man is 7 feet 4 inches tall. Standard door frames are basically at his chest. Standard ceilings feel like a closet. Standard furniture is something he can barely sit in without looking like an adult at a kindergarten desk. When Wemby was looking for a Texas home, the requirements were going to be unlike anything a San Antonio real estate agent had ever dealt with. According to reports, Wembanyama purchased his San Antonio mansion for $4.06 million through a discreet LLC. Smart move for privacy. The house was built in 2018, so it's relatively new construction with modern design. And when you look at the specs, it's crystal clear that whoever customized this place had Wemby's specific needs in mind at every single step. The mansion spans 7,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 6.5 bathrooms. For context, 7,000 square feet is massive territory. That's small hotel territory. That's the kind of space where you could genuinely get lost going from the kitchen to the bedroom. The first thing you notice walking in? The ceilings, 20 feet high. The entrance alone has these massive soaring ceilings that immediately make you feel like you stepped into somewhere important. And there's a custom chandelier hanging in the main entrance area. Here's the wild part. It was built with extra clearance specifically so that Wemby, who is 7 feet 4 inches, doesn't have to duck under his own light fixture. Think about that for a second. The chandelier in your house was designed around your height. That's not standard, that's custom luxury. The living room is open plan with floor-to-ceiling windows letting in natural light and connecting the indoor space to the outdoor area. The design is sleek contemporary with a stone facade on the exterior, the kind of modern Texas estate that blends into high-end San Antonio neighborhoods while still absolutely standing out. But the backyard is where things get ridiculous. The standout feature is a resort-style infinity pool that appears to vanish into the Texas horizon. The kind of pool you see in luxury travel magazines, not in the yard of a 21-year-old athlete. There's also an outdoor kitchen and dining area for entertaining, meaning Wemby could host a full dinner party outside without even needing to go into the main house. But here's where it gets really specific to who Victor Wembanyama actually is as a person and athlete. The property features a private sports court where he can work on his game right at home, a private home gym with high ceilings and top-tier equipment, a full wellness area with sauna and massage room so he can recover without leaving his property. And on top of that, there are reports that he also invested in a separate customized recovery property in San Antonio that goes even further, featuring cryotherapy installations, hydrotherapy setups, and custom-built furniture throughout the entire space suited specifically to his frame. This man built a recovery center and put it next to his house. That's not luxury. That's an operation. What makes this even more interesting is that Wembanyama didn't just buy the nicest house he could find and call it a day. Everything about this property is intentional. The custom modifications, the wellness infrastructure, the private court. He's clearly not buying a home to show off. He's buying a home to perform, to recover, to maintain his edge. Think about what it means to be 21 years old, have millions of dollars coming in, and be thinking about your recovery setup at home. Most 21-year-olds aren't thinking past the weekend. Wemby is building a compound. That tells you everything about why people think this kid is going to be the best player in the world for the next 15 years. But that $4 million mansion is just the foundation. The real story of Wembanyama's empire comes from the brands that recognized who he was before anyone else did. Chapter 3. The Louis Vuitton moment that changed everything. The Louis Vuitton chapter of Wembanyama's story is genuinely one of the coldest come-up moments we've seen from any athlete in recent memory. And it started way before most people even knew who he was. Most NBA players who get fashion deals, it happens after they've been in the league for a few years, built a fan base, got some all-star appearances under their belt, and then the luxury brands come calling. That's the usual timeline. Wembanyama did it completely differently. The relationship between Victor and Louis Vuitton started before he was even in the NBA. When he was playing for Metropolitans 92 in France, Nike had already locked him in, but Louis Vuitton, a French luxury house, recognized they had a once-in-a-generation French talent rising up, and they made that move early. By the time the 2023 NBA draft rolled around, the connection was already established. And you could see it in real time. When Victor Wembanyama walked into the 2023 NBA draft, the night that officially changed his life, he did it in a custom Louis Vuitton suit, dark green ensemble. GQ magazine was there. The fashion world immediately paid attention. This wasn't just a young guy wearing something nice. This was a statement, a signal that Wemby wasn't just coming to play basketball. He was coming to be a presence in every room he walked into. Then, in February 2024, right around his first NBA All-Star weekend, Louis Vuitton made it official. They announced Victor Wembanyama as their newest house ambassador. Let that sink in. He was joining a roster of global icons that includes tennis superstar Carlos Alcaraz, Olympic swimmer Leon Marchand, skier Eileen Gu, and actress Shailene Woodley. These aren't random celebrities. These are world-class athletes and cultural figures who represent what Louis Vuitton sees as the future of luxury. And at 20 years old, Wemby was right there with them. When Louis Vuitton spoke about the deal, their official statement said that Wembanyama has blazed a trail in his career on the court, not unlike the trail blazed by Louis Vuitton himself centuries ago. When Wemby spoke about it, he said, and I'm quoting here, "To me, it's the best. It's the best partner I can think of." That quote goes hard because this wasn't a kid starstruck by a big brand. This was a young man who clearly understood his own value and felt like LV was a match for where he was going. Now here's one of the most wild details in this entire story, and it perfectly captures the relationship between Wemby and Louis Vuitton. When Wembanyama was shut down during the 2024-25 NBA season with a blood clot in his right shoulder, which was genuinely scary, fam, because deep vein thrombosis is serious, Louis Vuitton didn't just send a get-well card, they sent him a hospital gown with the LV logo on it. A hospital gown with the Louis Vuitton monogram print, so that even while he was laid up recovering from a medical situation, this man was still dripping in LV. That is genuinely one of the coldest brand loyalty moments I've ever seen in sports. The LV deal signals that the biggest luxury brands in the world see Wembanyama as a long-term cultural figure, not just an athlete. LV doesn't hand out ambassadorships like energy drink sponsorships. They're selective, they're intentional. And the fact that they picked Wemby before he even played a full NBA season tells you that fashion saw something in him that even the sports world was still figuring out. But the Louis Vuitton deal is just half the story, because Wembanyama's Nike situation is operating on a completely different level of business. Chapter 4: The $100 million sneaker empire that changed the game. Nike's relationship with Victor Wembanyama predates the NBA itself. Just like Louis Vuitton, when WME was playing for Metropolitan's 92 in France, Nike already had him locked in. The deal was a multi-year footwear and apparel endorsement designed to carry over directly into his NBA career without missing a beat. When he was officially announced as the #1 overall pick in June 2023, Nike wasted absolutely no time. They posted on social media immediately, "All eyes on Wemby." That's not a coincidence. That's a brand that already had their guy locked down and was ready to activate the moment the spotlight hit. Now, the full financial terms of Wembanyama's Nike deal have never been publicly disclosed. And that's actually telling in itself because when Nike has a deal they're really serious about, they keep those numbers close. But sports marketing executives who were following the situation during draft season were floating numbers that would make your head spin. Sonny Vaccaro, the legendary sports marketing executive literally credited with bringing Michael Jordan to Nike back in the day, said publicly that shoe brands could present Wembanyama with a blank check. There were reports circulating that Nike could offer Wemby a deal worth up to $100 million, which would have surpassed LeBron James's record-breaking $90 million deal. Whether those exact numbers are what was signed, we don't know for certain. But what we do know is that Nike treated Wembanyama like a franchise-level asset from day one. And the sneaker work has been elite. Nike has been releasing GT Hustle 3 colorways in collaboration with WMI, including a special Halloween edition that dropped in October 2025 featuring a bright orange knitted upper with spindly root embroidery and black accents. But here's the detail that goes hardest: a green swoosh on the side as a nod to Wembanyama's alien nickname. That kind of storytelling in a shoe design, that's how you build a sneaker legacy. On top of that, Wembanyama has his own custom logo as part of his Nike deal. Something that not every Nike athlete gets. That's signature tier. That's the pathway toward a full signature shoe carrying his name, his story, and his brand identity. He's already been spotted wearing unreleased Nike Knock the Glides, the Drake collaboration line that the public hadn't even seen yet, including doing his famous first pitch at Yankee Stadium. When you're wearing shoes that don't exist yet in public, that's Nike saying you can wear whatever you want from their catalog, including stuff they haven't dropped yet. Wembanyama is also part of Nike's growing French ambassador team alongside Kylian Mbappé of Real Madrid. Two of the most recognizable young athletes on the planet. Both French. Both representing a global vision for Nike's brand in Europe and beyond. Here's what's crazy about the Nike deal. Wembanyama wears a size 20.5 shoe. Nike has to literally custom-make kicks just for this man to play in. That's not a partnership. That's a science project. And yet Nike is fully invested, fully committed to building a whole lane for him in their sneaker universe. The alien has his own world over there, and it's only getting bigger. But while the Nike and LV deals are generating massive brand revenue, Wembanyama's real genius is in how he's diversifying his wealth beyond endorsements. Chapter 5: The Two-Continent Real Estate Strategy. Beyond the $4 million San Antonio mansion, Wembanyama has made investments back home in France. He's acquired properties totaling approximately $1 million on the European side. For a 21-year-old, having a real estate portfolio that spans 2 continents is not something you stumble into. That requires intentionality. That requires good financial guidance. His agent, Bonadia, has reportedly emphasized long-term wealth preservation over short-term displays of luxury since day one of Wembanyama's professional career. And you can see that philosophy baked into every investment decision WMI makes. The San Antonio mansion is his operational home base, where he performs, where he recovers, where he's building his brand every single day. But the French real estate represents something different. That's generational thinking. That's creating assets back home that will appreciate over time, that keep him connected to where he came from, that build wealth in the currency where his family lives. Most athletes who get drafted abroad never think about real estate back home. They're thinking about now, about the mansion they're buying in their NBA city, about the cars they're getting, about the lifestyle they're living. Wembanyama is thinking about 40 years from now. He's thinking about assets across 2 continents that will generate wealth long after his playing days are done. That's not just smart financial planning. That's institutional-level thinking from a 21-year-old. But the real estate investments are just part of a much larger financial infrastructure he's building. Chapter 6. The Tech Investments and Recurring Revenue Streams. What's emerging from Wembanyama's financial picture is something most people don't see. He's not just spending money, he's building systems. His liquid net worth is estimated at around $10 million, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But it's actually considered modest relative to what his gross earnings have been. And the reason for that gap? He's reinvesting. He's building. He's putting money to work. According to reporting on his financial picture, Wembanyama is actively exploring tech investments with a target of up to $500,000 in yearly returns from that sector alone. That's the kind of diversified thinking that most people don't develop until they're in their 30s or 40s. Wembanyama is doing it before he can even legally drink in the United States. He also has partnerships generating recurring brand revenue that go beyond just the major Nike and LV deals. His Rolex collaboration is expected to contribute in the range of $400,000 annually just from that single deal's marketing campaigns. Think about what that means. Wembanyama has built a structure where money is flowing in from multiple directions simultaneously. Nike royalties from sneaker sales globally, LV ambassadorship fees, tech investment returns, Rolex partnership revenue, plus his actual NBA salary. What's emerging is a picture of a young man who is building financial infrastructure, not just a lifestyle. The San Antonio recovery compound, the French real estate, the tech investments, the recurring brand revenue. All of it points towards someone who understands that an NBA career, even a great one, has a finite length. And the real wealth, generational wealth, has to be built for the time when the playing days are done. Think about the mindset it takes to be 21, have millions of dollars coming in, and still be thinking about where you'll be financially at 40. Most people at 21 are thinking about what they're doing this weekend. Wembanyama is thinking about generational wealth. With an agent like Bonadia in his corner, staying committed to wealth preservation over flash, this kid's financial future looks genuinely strong. But what really separates Wembanyama's approach from other young athletes is how intentional everything is. Chapter 7. The Recovery Operation. Nobody else has. Let's take a step back for a second and really understand what Wembanyama built in San Antonio, because the recovery compound he's developed is genuinely unlike anything any other NBA player has created. Most players have a home gym, some have personal trainers. Wembanyama built a full sports medicine operation. The separate recovery property in San Antonio features cryotherapy installations, those chambers that drop your body temperature to accelerate muscle recovery, hydrotherapy setups, aquatic therapy pools, and systems designed for low-impact conditioning, and custom-built furniture throughout the entire space suited specifically to his 7'4" frame. This isn't just about luxury. This is about competitive advantage. This is about staying ahead of the wear and tear that comes from being the tallest, most athletic basketball player on the planet. Think about what his body goes through. Every time he jumps, it's with a 300-pound frame launching off the ground. Every time he lands, his joints absorb impact that no other player experiences. The recovery infrastructure he's built is literally his way of saying, "I'm going to maintain this advantage no matter what." And he did all this before turning 22. That's the mindset that separates good players from transcendent ones. It's not just about talent. It's about understanding that longevity requires investment. That staying healthy at his size requires specialized infrastructure. That you can't just show up and play, you have to engineer your entire life around performance and recovery. Wembanyama's Texas empire isn't just about owning property. It's about owning the infrastructure that allows him to dominate the sport for the next 15 years. Chapter 8. The Blueprint for Generational Wealth at 21. Let's recap what Victor Wembanyama has actually built in just 2 years. A $4 million San Antonio mansion, custom-built for his frame with 20-foot ceilings and a resort-style infinity pool. A separate recovery compound with cryotherapy and hydrotherapy installations. $1 million in French real estate investments. Tech investments targeting $500,000 yearly returns. A Louis Vuitton ambassadorship that sent him a hospital gown when he got injured. A Nike deal potentially worth up to $100 million. A Rolex partnership generating $400,000 annually. His own custom sneaker line. And a liquid net worth that he's deliberately kept modest because he's reinvesting every dollar back into assets. That's not just an athlete's real estate portfolio. That's an institutional investment strategy designed to generate wealth for the next 40 years. The reason Wembanyama's story matters goes beyond just the money, though. It matters because he's proving that an athlete doesn't have to wait until they're 30 to think about long-term wealth. You can be 21, you can be dominant on the court, you can have all the endorsements in the world, and still be intentional about building something that lasts. From a working-class suburb outside Paris to owning a piece of Texas. From being an unknown 7'4" kid to sitting alongside Naomi Osaka and Carlos Alcaraz in Louis Vuitton campaigns. From dreaming about the NBA to building recovery compounds that no other player has. That's not just a come-up story, that's a blueprint. Wembanyama didn't just move to San Antonio. He invested in San Antonio. He didn't just get endorsement deals. He partnered with the biggest brands in the world and leveraged those relationships into recurring revenue. He didn't just buy real estate. He built a 2-continent portfolio designed to appreciate for decades. And he's doing all of this before he can legally buy a beer in the United States. So what part of Wembanyama's empire hits you the hardest? The $4 million mansion with custom chandeliers? The recovery compound with cryotherapy? The Louis Vuitton hospital gown? The Nike deal that might be worth $100 million? Or the fact that a 21-year-old kid from Paris has already figured out generational wealth while most of us are still figuring out our careers? Drop it in the comments below. And for more deep dives into how the next generation of athletes is building real, institutional wealth, subscribe to Black Status.